All right. Whoa, that's off. What's going on, everyone? I got a little bit skewed here. Sorry about that. Um, Welcome to Ask the King, episode 80. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 80th ever episode of Ask the King that I've ever done. This is a series that now, if I remember correctly, has been running for about 10 years. A decade of Ask the King, if you can believe it, guys. So, welcome to the show. Today is actually January 30th, 2020. I welcome you all, and it's going to be a fun show. We got questions from the forums, questions from Twitter. I'll be honest, this time around we didn't get as many questions, and the honest reason I feel that that's the case is because I did a podcast 2 weeks ago that had a big reveal, personal information about me, and we had a Q&A segment during that podcast where you guys had an opportunity to get a lot of questions in, and I answered a lot of them. So because of that, I don't think there was like a lot of burning questions in regards to things going on behind the scenes or whatever. More of the questions that I got today were more about the gaming industry and stuff like that, which is great. That's the kind of questions I love answering. But in particular, I don't think that we had like a ton of questions that needed to be answered. We'll see what happens in the next couple of months. The next episode of Ask the King will actually be in late March. I think it was like March 26th or 27th or something like that. It's always the last Thursday of the month when I do it. By the way, there's already a thread for you to post up your questions for the next episode of Ask the King on my forums on thekingofhate.com. So if you didn't get your question in for today and you're looking to get your question answered on the next episode, please by all means head over there to the forums and post up. And also remember, one of the ways you're guaranteed to get your question answered on this show is by pledging to my Patreon $20 or more a month, and then you get your question answered 100% for sure with an in-depth answer. A lot of people ask me, well, Phil, what's the difference between just like cheering 50 bits and asking you a question or pledging the $20 on Patreon and asking a question? Well, if you pledge the $20, you get an in-depth, well-focused answer. I'm going to spend a big chunk of my show answering your question, versus if you cheer, I'll probably spend a minute or two just blabbing out a quick answer and then moving on. See what I mean? So there's a big difference between the two. All right. So with that being said, welcome everyone to the show. It's time to start with questions. I actually got a few contributions that came in here. So thank you for Third Eye the Third's cheer. Pissing Demon resubscribed for 26 months. And Uzi Gohar cheers says, chat demands I take off my shirt. No, that's absolutely disgusting. If you see what's under here, you'll never be able to see anything for the rest of your life because you'll be blind. It's that gross. Okay, let's get started, everybody. First question of the show is from Tynel. And Tynel says the following. Happy 2020, Phil. Since it's a new decade, can you think back and tell us some of the best games from the past decade, 2010 to 2019? Well, I mean, incidentally, what I have to do is think back over all the games that I've played during my time as a content creator. You know, I didn't really start covering games all the time until 2009. I didn't start really taking it seriously until like 2010. So just off the top of my head, some of the biggest playthroughs and games that I cover, Batman Arkham Asylum started an entire trilogy of Batman games that ended up being absolutely outstanding. Heavy Rain, the game that kind of got me into the narrative-based style games. Although I did play some Telltale games before then, Heavy Rain was the one that kind of like, boom, got me right. Wow, it's a murder mystery. You can play different characters. Your choices actually matter, etc. Definitely. Mass Effect 2, probably the best game of the Mass Effect trilogy or any the entire Mass Effect franchise, which hopefully I'll be able to play sooner rather than later again because I only played it once ever, and I'm actually dying to go back and play the game again. So that's pretty good. I would say, of the BioShock trilogy, I would say BioShock, the original, is the best one, but BioShock Infinite was a close second, and that actually came out this last decade. So I would say, yes, BioShock Infinite probably ranks up there for me. Definitely Skyrim, which for the longest time was kind of one of my longest playthroughs of all time. Witcher 3, absolutely Witcher 3, probably the best RPG I played in the last decade, although a close second I would say would be Persona 5, which I think is actually my longest running playthrough of all time. Oh, man, let's think. What else has come? Oh, Last of Us. The Last of Us, definitely one of the coolest narratives with some interesting gameplay elements. I think it was more the narrative that kept you hooked than anything else. And I would definitely say the Uncharted series. Obviously, not all the Uncharted are from the past decade, but that was a really good, complete series with great narrative and storytelling, along with good exploration mechanics and fun gameplay. Super Mario Odyssey. 100% my favorite platformer of the last decade. I think it was the absolute best 3D platformer I've ever played. I still believe that. A lot of people downplayed that game, but I think Super Mario Odyssey was absolutely outstanding. Zelda Breath of the Wild, best Zelda game I played ever for YouTube. I would say the only Zelda game I like better than Breath of the Wild would be Link to the Past. But Breath of the Wild, was really, it took Zelda into the modern era and made it feel like a modernized game instead of having all these outdated mechanics and things. I actually really like Breath of the Wild that much. See, I would say Fallout 3, but that's not the last decade. Fallout 3 was 2009. So I can't technically say that. And I do think Fallout 3 is probably of all the modern Fallouts I played, that's the one I like the most. But that was not this decade. I think that would be it off the top of my head, I'm sure there's a lot I'm missing. You think back. Okay, I will say this, and a lot of people have issue with this. Modern Warfare 2, when it came out, okay, for me, was like the FPS. It was like the most hype thing ever. But I think that was 2009, right? I want to say that was 2009, because I think, yeah, excuse me. So that technically wouldn't be last decade then. See, the thing is, Modern Warfare 2 didn't age very well, and over time the game degraded and ended up being really shitty online. But when it came out, man, that game was fucking hype. But I think that was 2009. People would argue Assassin's Creed as well. Different ones. Again, I would probably say Assassin's Creed 2 is the best, but I think that was 2009. I think that was actually not 2010 yet. But maybe it was. If it was 2010, then definitely Assassin's Creed 2. And the last game I'll throw out there is the God of War. God of War, when they rebooted the series there, outstanding, amazing game. So there you go. Those are some of my picks for the best games of the last decade. There you go. Okay. Next question is from Cisco Certified. And he says, do you believe that people should be jailed for verbal racial abuse as they are in countries such as England? Do you feel that this is the most effective way to stomp out racism from society, at least on a public level? Do you feel as though that would be too much of a violation of free speech? First of all, is that true? Is that true? In England, if you're saying racist things, you can be arrested and imprisoned? Is that true? I'm not aware of that. I don't know British or English law. If that is the case, that's wild to me, because that does not happen in the United States. In the United States, you're free. It is true. People are saying yes. No one's elaborating, but people are saying it's true. Wow. In the United States, you can say whatever you want, but then there's consequences. Like, you can say whatever you want, and then if you get your face caved in, I mean, you know what I mean? Now, the thing is, if someone caves your face in for saying racist stuff, you can then press charges. So it's kind of a weird system we have here. Like, here's the truth of the matter. I think that racism is incredibly stupid. All right? I don't feel that any race is superior to another. That, there's people who are incredibly gifted and people that are incredibly stupid of every race and every denomination. It doesn't matter what color you are. The color of your skin is stupid as shit. Okay? Now, scientifically, you can argue that certain races may be prone to one thing better than another. That's scientifically proven as well. But overall, shouldn't be a generalized bias at all against any race. I've always had friends of every color under the rainbow, and I don't give a shit what color you are. I don't prejudge anyone. Okay? I never have in my entire life. Okay? But people could definitely say generalized things, and then people take it the wrong way and think it's racist, right? So it's a slippery slope. Like, how far do you take it? What can you say? What can't you say? In the United States, my opinion is this, all right? I really don't care what the hell your opinion is on race. I wish that you wouldn't be racist, because I'm not. I wish you would be more like me and be more open-minded. But I don't care if people have these preconceived notions and they have these experiences that make them prejudiced against one race or another. Just don't fucking turn it into practice. You know what I mean? You'd be very surprised what people say behind closed doors. I'm being honest with all of you. This is people who I've known my whole life, and then behind closed doors, they're saying things about other people of other races. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't know this person was ever like this or thought that. That's crazy. I don't think that way, but who would have thunk it, right? You're like, holy shit. But if that doesn't become practice, it doesn't matter. If you have this stupid bias, I mean, it's dumb and it's ignorant, but it's the people who take it too far. The people who now they're going to take that to the streets. They're going to say that, go back home because you don't belong in the United States, shit like that. Or, just incredibly racist things. I'm not going to hire someone because they're a certain race. we're gonna have bias on who does what because of their race and shit like that. And we mistreat people because of their race. That's fucked up. Okay. So, I personally, I've always been said that I'm an open-minded guy, and certainly I don't think that bigotry or racism is good. But I can't stop anyone from being that way. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing I can do to stop people from thinking in fucked up ways. But at the very least, just don't practice it. You know what I mean? Don't do messed up decision making in your life based on these stupid, ignorant opinions or things that you have in your head. But some people are. Some people are just so dumb that they will actually take this and yell at people racist things in the streets and make these say horrible things, do horrible things, treat people horribly because of the color of their skin. Should those people be prosecuted? I mean, for what they say? I don't know. That's a very tough question. Again, I'd be interested because he specifically brings up England as a reference point. I would like to see how that law is actually implemented in England. Like, to what extent? If you just walk up to someone and call them a racist name, can you go to jail for that? Or is it more like, oh, you're berating someone? Or, you know what I mean? Like, other levels of escalation? I don't know how that would be implemented in the United States. I don't. But in the United States, basically you could say whatever the hell you want as long as it's not life-threatening. That's the one thing. If you threaten someone's life, that's illegal. But you could say whatever you want about someone. You could insult their appearance. You can insult their race. You can insult, anything about them, all right? As just a general insult, that's allowed. It's when you escalate it to something physical or a threat that becomes illegal, and now you can get in trouble for it. So I don't know. Again, that's I don't agree with that. I think that I do agree that freedom of speech is important. Certainly, as crazy as people are, I think behind closed doors, people should be able to say whatever they want. In your own home, even if it's ignorant and stupid, I mean, that's your home. That should be a protected place where you can say whatever you want, right? That's the core essence of freedom of speech, is that you're able to discuss topics and come to resolution. You say the craziest shit, but as long as, you can maybe come to a more intelligent resolution because you considered the crazy. You know what I mean? I don't think that we should have schools of thought that are 100% shut off, ever. I think that everyone should be able to think whatever, as long as they don't, again, take that into practice. Some people would disagree with me, but that's kind of my thinking. I'm a totally open-minded guy, and I've heard people, I'll be honest, I've heard people who are very bigoted and very racist in my life, and I came to the conclusion of my own intelligent thought that racism is stupid as shit, and in my own experience that it has no grounds in anything factual, and I think that racism is incredibly bad, and it should not be, ever be practiced. But I can't make people not think it. You know what I mean? Should someone be jailed because they think that way? No, I don't think so. But should they be able to just go into the street and constantly insult someone with racist shit? Oh, man. I don't know. I can't answer this question. This is a tough one. This is actually one of the toughest questions I think I've tackled because I don't think there's a good answer. And I believe in freedom of speech. Absolutely, I believe in freedom of speech. But I guess the question would be, at what point does freedom of speech become abusive and derogatory? Not derogatory, defamation, right? Because if you just make a general racist comment versus you're basically saying this person is devalued because they're a race, dude, this is tough. This is so tough. I can't answer the question. I would need specifics. I would need specifics to categorize a situation and say, do I feel that that's extreme enough that one would be jailed or in this case, jailed for verbal racial abuse? I would need to know what exactly is the law in England, and then kind of compare it with the law here to give an informed answer. So it's a tough question. I've been talking about it for almost 10 minutes. I still don't think I've even gotten to the essence of the question because I don't have enough information. Okay. Okay, anyway, let's go to the next question so we don't dwell on this one all day. You mentioned in your Life is Strange 2 playthrough that the SJW themes were a little on the nose and maybe too much. What is, in your personal opinion, the line where these themes are coming on too strong? Do you think the artists and game devs should strive to be politically neutral, or do you think they should put their own bias into the art if they're passionate about that subject? And that's from Jeff Bezos' right nut. I don't know if that's how you say his name, by the way. That's, I think it's the CEO of Amazon or whatever. Here's the thing about Life is Strange 2. All right, I'm totally for a game integrating an issue from real life into the game to make it seem more realistic. I'm not all for the game making the entirety of the game shoving that political agenda down my throat. If Life is Strange 2 had a situation where there was one character in the game who was like a racist, and so because the protagonists are, they have Latin heritage, because of that, maybe the guy's racist against them and treats them poorly or whatever, I'd be like, fair enough. There are definitely racist people in the United States of America who treat people like that. So maybe this is a case of one of them, and I understand that's what they're going for with this representation. But there were literally like 3 episodes out of the 5 where the kids were treated in a racist manner, overwhelmingly because of their nationality, you know, where they came from. And to me, it's like, that's too heavy-handed. You know what I mean? Like, that's a skewed perspective. That's you shoving your narrative down my throat and not giving accurate representation of how it actually is in the United States just because you're trying to prove a point or say something political. And for me, that's overbearing, you know? And me, again, I'm an open-minded guy, so if you want to push a narrative or you want to have me think a way maybe that I normally wouldn't think or whatever, or put me in the shoes of these kids who are being treated in a racist manner, because normally I'm, you know, be very honest, I'm white. Normally I wouldn't be treated in a racist manner in the United States no matter where I go, because white is a very common, you know, race here, and it's hard to, you wouldn't really get treated in a racist manner. So, oh my God, I'm playing a protagonist who's actually being prejudiced against and racist. It puts me in their shoes and like, man, that's really fucked up. I think that game did a good job of that, but at the same time, 3 fucking times in a 5-episode thing that is happening is like too much. It's too heavy-handed. It really has to do with good writing, and Life is Strange 2 did not have good writing at all, okay? The other thing is, this is Life is Strange 2. It's a sequel. The first game didn't have those kind of discussions, and all of a sudden to cram it in, okay, once, oh wait, the whole game's about it. You know, it's like, wait a minute, you know, you're people who bought Life is Strange 2 on the premise that, oh, it's going to be like a continuation of a game like 1 and it'll be good. And it really wasn't. The writing was completely different, and it really turned me off. Like, by the end of the game, the writing was so ridiculously stupid, I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care if anyone lived or died or nothing. It's the complete opposite. In the first game, I cared about the characters. I wanted them to survive. I wanted to have an outcome to this ongoing mystery of what was going on at the school. And the second game was just like, I didn't give a fuck about these people by the end because the writing was so shit, you know? So I would definitely say Life is Strange 2, the problem here was not the theme. It was that the theme was hammered in. Like, I didn't get it the first 5 times. You got to hammer in a 6th. I get it. These kids are being treated in a racist manner because they're not white. I get it. Okay? But I don't need to know that 45 times to get the picture. I got the picture the first 5 times. You see what I mean? So I'm okay with politics being in games. I'm 100% okay with that. As long as you don't become a hackneyed writer who just fucking tries to shoehorn in every moment you can something about people being racist to a certain race. You know what I mean? And I really feel that's why Life is Strange 2 sucked. Fair enough? Okay. Moving on. Next question is from Kalena. And Kalena asked the following. From the previous decade, you were well known on the internet as the guy who raged at video games, particularly the ones that fell under the fighting game genre. You infamously criticized certain games for presenting you with unfair challenges, such as overpowered boss fights, horrendous cameras, awful checkpoints, and lame online connections, just to name a few. After the latter half of the previous decade, you seem to have really transformed into a calmer and chiller guy who withdrew blaming games for their flaws. My question to you is, what were the most relaxing and stress-free games that you played in the previous decade, and which ones made you feel the happiest while you played them? First of all, I'll agree with you to some extent. I don't want people to think that now in the modern era, I never call a game out, I'll never get angry at a game, and I'll never say, oh, I think that this is unfair, this isn't working. That's not true at all. What I am is I think I'm more fair now. And, you know, if I'm playing a game, I'm not going to overly criticize it, make fun of it just for the hell of it. Back in the day, that's what I did. Like, my shtick on YouTube, for probably the first 5 years that I did this, was Phil was the guy who was over-the-top humor. Over-sexualized, you know, generalized kind of, you know, racist jokes and stuff. Ultra violence, right? Always swearing like a sailor. And also over-the-top stuff when it came to criticizing the games. He would always just be ludicrous with the stuff he would say about the game, complaining constantly, saying it was totally unfair, saying the game was a piece of shit. Like, that was my shtick, right? That was the thing that I portrayed in my videos. Not to say that I didn't have those thoughts naturally in my head, but I would completely overblow them so that I would always have a commentary to fill dead air, okay? That's always what I would do because I knew I had to have a catch to make people come watch my content. And when I first started on YouTube, it was the raw, unedited gameplay, and then it was like I need another catch. So, you know, basically the first 2-3 years that I did it, I was kind of formulating what I was going to do, what was going to be my persona when I did these gameplay videos. And that's really what it was, okay? I would say in the last 3 or more years, since I became an interactive streamer, I don't really have to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's no dead air to fill because I have a live chat in front of me. At any moment, excuse me, if a game isn't hyper interesting or super fun, I don't have to sit there and say, oh, this game sucks, or say something stupid and over the top and immature. Instead, I could just talk with you guys and hang out and have more fun and kind of relax. Streaming now is way more relaxing than it used to be. Way more relaxing. It used to be stressful for me when I had to do playthroughs because, man, I got to entertain thousands of people today. I got to do what I can to entertain these thousands of people and hook them and keep the views coming and rolling. Now it's not like that anymore. Now it's like, I'm like, okay, I'm coming to stream today, guys. We're going to hang out. We're going to have fun with games. We're going to have some fun interactions. It really is a completely different vibe than it used to be back in the day. All right. And the truth of the matter is today, the games that I play that end up being more relaxing playthroughs, I feel end up being some of the more enjoyable. Versus some of the games that I play that are more stressful, they don't really let them be more interactive streams because I have to concentrate on the game so much. I don't really get to interact with you guys that much. So even though, don't get me wrong, it's not like, oh, that's it. Phil's never playing a From Software game ever again because they're too stressful. He can't interact with the chat. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is definitely now, with the style that I've adopted, it opens itself up to more relaxing and chill games that normally back then on the old school YouTube videos I used to make, no one would watch them. Everyone would complain this playthrough sucks, it's boring, you know. Now it's different, okay? And in reality, I have actually really enjoyed coming to a fun, relaxing stream where we could just hang out and have fun with a chill game versus, oh, this game's all about serious gameplay and hyper concentrating on the game because it's very challenging. You see what I mean? So, following along in that vein of what you're saying here, okay? Your question is, what are some of the most well, first of all, your statement was that it seems today I don't really say stuff like there's no lame online connections, awful checkpoints, horrendous cameras, etc. That's not true. If that happens in a game, I still call it out. Absolutely. Every time I play fighting games online, I complain about the lag because there's lag. Every time that I play a freaking From Software game and the camera squishes against the wall and I can't see shit and I die because of it, I call it out for that, okay? I'm currently playing Donkey Kong 64, okay? It's a game from 1999, and the game itself is outdated by 1999's standards. There have been other 3D platformers between the release of Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64 that were better. So I'm going to call that game out, and I do. I'll say, man, these controls are terrible. Man, this camera really sucks. I can't see what I'm doing, etc. I'll call it out for that. But that's not the end-all, be-all of what I'm doing, and I'm not overly exaggerating those points to try to fill dead air and keep it entertaining. Instead, I can just say it when it happens and then move on to other stuff and interact with you guys to have fun on the stream rather than it just being go, go, go with that kind of content. You know what I'm saying? So, to get to your actual question, what are some of the most relaxing, stress-free games that I played in the past decade? I would say, out of all the games that I played in the last decade, that really gave me like a chill and positive vibe, I remember Sonic Colors, for some reason I really liked. I don't know why. I think it was the combination of the music and just the graphical design of the game and the gameplay. It really was like it was a challenging game, but it was free-flowing. It was fun. I remember the end of the game was really neat, the ending. So I would say that. I would also say Kirby's Epic Yarn, right? The Kirby game where everything was yarn. That game was just a breeze. There really wasn't any significant challenge to the game. That was more of a game that you 100% just play to enjoy and have a relaxing time rather than worry about insane challenge. Let's see. Definitely, some of the most chill streams I've had over the last few years, MLB, right? Having these baseball seasons where I'm just swinging at baseballs. I don't really care about anything else. Doesn't really matter if I do well or not. It's more about hanging out with you guys while I try to hit the balls or field the balls or whatever. Um, and that in that case, it's not really. It's even though I get enjoyment when I hit a home run or whatever, it's more about the fun we have talking, right? Um, some people were bringing up Minecraft. I would say this, yes and no, because there's some streams of Minecraft that I'll play and everything goes according to plan, and I get to build something nice. I get to interact with you guys, or maybe we're just farming for materials that stream or exploring. Those are very chill and relaxing. But then there's some streams when everything goes wrong. I'm trying to build something and it doesn't go right. Or I run out of resources now. And oh my God, enemies show up out of nowhere. I got a raid coming into my town. Uh-oh, I was out exploring and, I got attacked. And now it's a desperate fight for survival, right? So it really depends. I'd say some Minecraft streams, yeah, and others, no. It's kind of a unique combination. I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else off the top of my head that comes, you know what I mean? What do you guys think? I'm curious what you guys would say in the stream chat. Like, what were some of the most chill, relaxing, gameplay that I did in the last decade? What do you guys think? In the meantime, Mature Adult cheered. Thank you for the cheer, Mature Adult. And Super Sly Gaming gifted a sub to King of Hypocrisy. So congrats, King of Hypocrisy. And thank you, Super Sly Gaming, for the support. Night in the Woods. Dan Anonymous says Night in the Woods. RB says Pokemon Sword. I would agree there. There were very few times in the Pokemon Sword playthrough, maybe a few gym battles, but nothing that was really crazy, hectic, or challenging. Is more relaxing. I agree there. Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, whenever I play a classic like that, I would say it's definitely a more chill, relaxing playthrough for sure. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. 100% agree with OG Rascal. Judgment. Judgment was like the ultimate fun playthrough for me last year in 2019. Here's why. It had combat. And sometimes the combat was challenging, especially the boss fights. But in general, the combat in the streets of Kamurocho was pretty simple and easy. There was so much content that every day I played the game, I didn't know what I was going to do. I could wander around the streets of Kamurocho and run into 10 side missions. That's a 2-hour stream. We're done. Or it could be there. I don't do any side missions. We just focus on story. But no matter what, it was like a fun open world experience. It was relaxing. It was entertaining. There was so much content in the game that there was always variety. And a lot of people have told me they actually feel that like my Judgment playthrough was like the chill summer of 2019 they're always going to remember, because that was like 2-3 months we played it, starting in June, July, August, right? I didn't finish it till late August, so it was like 3 months or 2.5 months that was the chill thing we did at night. And a lot of people really enjoyed that and loved that, and I did too. That's going to be a playthrough that kind of sticks with me for a while. So Judgment, there you go. That's a good one. Good call out there. Okay, continuing on here. Is this a two-parter? It is a two-parter. All right, so this is a two-parter. Very in-depth question, so please bear with me. It's 2 paragraphs I have to read before we get to the question. This is a question from BlackSpawn89. Get ready. Okay, everybody? Might be a long answer as well. So, here's his question. He says, well, I understand the transition over to a full-time streamer, understandably. One of the toughest things that you do in your playthroughs, which have ruined plenty of the games, is allowing backseat gaming and allowing people to give you hints and or advice on how to succeed in a game. I may or may not be alone in this, but gone is the excitement of seeing you persevere through a game, no matter how cryptic or tough a section of the game might be. I enjoyed that you didn't care much for this is how you don't play people, trying to capitalize on your failures, and that you treated every playthrough like the old days of no hand-holding from the chat or other people. I give it a very retro feel, and felt really rewarding and satisfying as a longtime viewer to see a streamer pull through instead of being told how to figure something out. It felt unique to see someone, stubbornly or not, give a tough game a good couple of tries because it felt organic and it felt like the pre-internet days of perseverance. Okay, let's continue on. Told you this was a long question. It has, at least in my opinion, ruined so many playthroughs that you have done, and my question is, have you considered or will you consider a no backseat gaming policy in the near future? From spoilers to being basically handheld to a section of the game, it feels like chat interaction has taken a far bigger prevalence that has arguably taken away one of the unique features that DSP Gaming brought, which was raw, unedited gameplay that many viewers, include myself, loved. Other streamers have warned or banned people on Twitch for spoiling or giving advice on a section of a game. Is this something that you have considered? Okay. This is going to be a very involved answer because there's a lot to cover here. I started off back in the day as a YouTuber, I didn't live stream at all until 2013 was the year where I first started live streaming. And in reality, I didn't take live streaming seriously as a medium of interaction with you, the viewers, until 3 years ago during my Breath of the Wild playthrough in 2017. So in reality, I've only been doing the interactive streaming thing for 3 years out of the 11 that I've been a content creator, all right? Back in the day when I used to do YouTube videos, I always recorded offline. There was no chance whatsoever that people could spoil the game for me. And so everything was 100% honest first-time reactions to me playing a game with very few exceptions. Maybe a few games I had played before and I was playing a second time for YouTube. Or in the case of a few games where I knew I was going to need help and I looked stuff up. But in general, yes, my playthroughs were honest reactions of me just flubbing through a game by myself with zero help. Okay. And back in the day, when YouTube was a very different animal, that stuff worked. People liked seeing the unedited long form content. They liked seeing every single fail, every single mistake. They liked seeing me rage every time that I fucked up, right? That was a thing. That was a part of my shtick. Watch the common guy who sucks at games try to play this hard game and fuck up a million times and swear, and everyone laughs at him and makes fun of him, right? So, yeah, I would actually say back in the day, that's what I did, okay? Now, the thing is that over time, things change, okay? And a few things changed over the years that I feel really made it so that that kind of content didn't really work anymore. Allow me to explain. First of all, the long-form playthroughs. People didn't like them anymore. People were getting shorter attention spans on YouTube and wanted digestible content. They didn't want to go see a 300-part playthrough of a game that was 30 hours long. They wanted to see a 5 to 10-part playthrough of a game where each part was like maybe a half an hour to an hour long, and it was edited. It cut out the dead air. It cut out the stuff in between. This is what became popular on YouTube during this time frame, and a lot of people around the 2012-2013 time frame said, Phil, you're a dinosaur. You're doing things the old way. You're doing things the unedited way. No one wants that anymore. Everyone wants the new montage style playthrough. No one wants the raw content. And, you know, I hate to say it, but to some extent, people were right. I still think that there were people who loved my style of gameplay, but I was the exception to the rule because I had been around the block and doing it for 5+ years at that point. I had a following, but in general, the common viewer was coming to YouTube for something more digestible. And I hate to say it, this was a time frame when people started saying, oh my God, gaming on YouTube is big business. So if I come in with a team of people who have video editing expertise, a ton of money and financing so we can finance this as a business and come in with equipment so we can have studios to film ourselves playing games and edit that at a high quality rate and throw that out on the internet, we can make big money. And so guys like me who were doing it for the love of it didn't want to sit there editing their content constantly to cut it down to just being edited montages of the best moments. And I wanted to highlight every waking moment of all the content that I was putting out, basically got trampled on because people got almost, I don't want to say brainwashed, but basically they got, well, I can't think of the word, but basically they came to expect that when you're going to watch a playthrough, for it to be a high quality playthrough, you cut out any of the fails, you cut out the dead time. This is going to be just the best and worst moments of the playthrough in an edited style from people who have video editing know-how, and it's never really one guy anymore. It's a team of people all working together to make a best product. It became very, very, what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say corporate, but manufactured. You know what I mean? Instead of this is the love of the game, I'm putting out raw videos because I love video games and I want to share my experiences with you daily. It became, this is a team of people making professional style videos to make money. And sadly, that's what became prominent on YouTube. Okay? And so, what I had to do over the years, I had to adapt. Okay? And eventually I adopted live streaming. And then in 2017, I said, if I'm going to continue doing what I love, which is playing games, not sitting and editing videos and doing montages and all this shit, I have to change my format of content delivery because the YouTube format doesn't work anymore. People are not going to YouTube for that raw, unedited content anymore. They want something different. They want this produced content, manufactured content that is a lot of time, effort, and money and expertise put into, people coming into it to make a profit, not people coming into it just because I'm a gamer and I just want to sit down and play a game. Okay? In fact, my videos that were that long form unedited content became highly criticized. And why do you think This Is How You Don't Play became popular? Because people looked at me and said, wow, there are people who are doing exactly what Phil does, but they edit it and they do it high quality. Phil's lazy and he doesn't do that. Now, in reality, that wasn't the case. In reality, I was working harder than a lot of the people putting out that other content. But people didn't want to see that. They thought that me just sitting here playing games was lazy. But you have to realize I was here 7 days a fucking week playing games. I was putting out 5 times more content than those people. But just because those people's videos were edited and shiny and, you know, looked professional, they got all the views while my content declined over the years because of this weird mentality that you had to have that overproduced, manufactured style content for profit in order to actually be good, and that my old style of being raw and genuine didn't matter anymore, okay? So that's why This Is How You Don't Play became prominent. These were people who had the time, unlike me, to cherry pick the moments they felt were funny and or made me look stupid, edit them into a stylized video with comedy shit added in, and those became hyper popular and viral on YouTube. And I didn't do that. Again, I stayed true to who I was, okay? So, that's what happened during the YouTube years, okay? Now, the last 3 years that I started doing live streaming as an interactive streamer, I realized this is the only way that I'm going to be able to retain the kind of content that I want to do. People are not going to YouTube to watch raw content anymore. They're going to live streams. So I had to totally switch up my formula. The thing is, when you go from a YouTube base to a live streaming base, there's so many changes. One of the main things you got to do is have constant interactivity to engage your viewer base so that they will stick around. Because if you're playing a game ignoring the people there, what's the point of even showing up to the stream? And I did that from 2013 to early 2017. I streamed and basically ignored the chat all the time. And basically those people were like, what's the point of even going to the stream when you can just watch on YouTube? It's the same experience. Now, there is big incentive to show up to a stream. You're going to interact with me. If you cheer, sub, or tip, I give you a shout out. I read things out of the stream chat. I interact with you guys. I take feedback live. If I get stuck on a part of the game, yes, people will try to help me to advance in the part of the game. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. Why does that happen? Why do people try to help a streamer who's stuck? The answer is very simple. Because people who are watching a stream want to see advancement. They don't want to see 47 fails in a row. They want to see the next part of the game. They want to see that gamer having fun. They like the person on the other end. You know what I mean? People who watch my streams frequently like me as a person and as a gamer, and they want to see me enjoy the game. They don't want to see me sit here and suffer for 3 hours on one boss because there's a nuance of the boss fight I'm not understanding. They want to see me fight and win and pass that boss so I can go on and see the rest of the game. You understand? It's a more positive vibe now on live streams because they're interactive than it ever was before on YouTube where, hey, if I don't want to see Phil fail 47 times, I'll skip those 5 videos and go to the next part. You don't get that option on a live stream because you're watching live. You see what I mean? So, that's the deal. Okay? Now, I 100% agree with you, Black Spawn. If every stream was just people telling me how to do everything, that would be incredibly boring. And I hate to say it, but people are just dickheads. And they want to believe the worst, and they want to see, even if they're not here live on the stream, they want to think that every game playthrough that I do, the only reason I ever succeed at anything is because someone told me how to do it on the stream. That's not the case. Almost never does that happen. In fact, I usually only take advice if I'm actually doing something challenging and I'm stuck, or the other situation would be, there's something cryptic in a game that normally I would have missed, and actually adds something very significant to the game, and then the stream helps me with it. So, for example, when I was playing Bloodborne, all right, if people didn't tell me you need to get those 3 umbilical cords and you need to have them in your inventory or eat them, whatever it was, because I don't remember, and you need to do that by the end to see the true final boss, secret boss of the game, I would have missed out on a really fun critical end boss and I would have been disappointed. So thank goodness people interactively told me during that playthrough, you need to go do this because you're not going to miss out on a big important part of the game when you're playing it, right? Now, does that mean that they held my hand and they spoiled and that's bad? I don't think so. I think that enabled me to do another fun boss fight. You see what I mean? But some people would actually disagree and say, well, Phil should have just done whatever he did, right? No help and no interaction at all. The thing is, when you adapt to become a live streamer, you have to adapt your content. You have to become interactive. You have to survive. If I sat here and I said, no spoilers policy, absolutely no help or handholding ever allowed, a bunch of people would say this is boring. Phil's ignoring us. You know, we want to help him. We want to see advancement in the game. We want to see proceeding. And he's not, and now this is boring and we don't care, we're not going to watch anymore. That's the difference between YouTube on-demand content and live streaming interactive content. And I've learned that over the last 3 years, is that the interaction is a huge part. Now, again, by no means am I saying, oh, every single part of a game should be spoiled for me and everyone should hold my hand, everything. When I'm playing a game that's challenging, I do want to give it an honest try the first time around. I don't want anyone to tell me how to do stuff. You know, right now I'm playing Donkey Kong 64. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing in this game. At first, I was so confused, I needed a little bit of help. So people started explaining, oh, certain bananas can only be collected by certain monkeys. Certain coins can only be collected by certain ones of the family members. And then they have special abilities that allow you to get to other areas once you unlock the characters. Once that basic premise of the game was explained to me, now I'm playing it, I don't need help at all. Now I'm coasting through, I'm finding all the hidden stuff simply because I know the basics. Now, a perfect example here. I was like, man, I guess I'm stuck, and I guess that I don't know what else to do to get these final bananas, so I'm going to leave this area. And someone in stream chat spoke up and said, Phil, you missed it. When you use Diddy Kong's jetpack, there's a secret area you can go to. You got to fly through a ring 3 times. Not that the game tells you this. It's something cryptic you need to figure out. And then you unlock a whole new area, okay, where now you can get a new banana for everybody. And I'm like, oh shit, well, I probably never would have figured that out on my own. This adds to the playthrough now because I can do this and immediately we can go to new areas and new challenges. See what I mean? That's the difference. If someone had just immediately said, Phil, when you're in this area, as Diddy Kong fly through the ring 3 times, that's a spoiler. But if you see I'm done with the area, I'm about to move on and miss significant content, all right, there you go. You see what I mean? So I feel that there's a balance. Certainly, I'm not going to say here, oh, I've perfected that balance. I know I haven't. And sometimes people spoil stuff they shouldn't be spoiling. It's very hard to control that in a live chat environment where you don't know what someone's going to say at any waking moment. Someone could just immediately, oh, do it this way, blah, blah, blah. Oh, now they spoiled everything, right? There's nothing you can really do about that. You know, you can have a theory. You know what I mean? You have a theory, but it doesn't necessarily going to go into practice the way that you want it. Okay, I could have, I think that this should only happen in this situation, but then people might just go out and say, you know, I can't control what you guys say or do on stream. So it is what it is. In the case of Black Spawn, he feels my hands held too much. Okay. In the case of other people, they might feel that I don't pay attention to chat enough. A lot of people constantly tell me, Phil, I try to interact and tell you stuff on stream, and you don't respond to me. You see what I mean? So it's kind of like you can't have it both ways. So I don't really know how people could say that. In one case, someone claims that I'm having my hand held constantly and all I do is read people's comments and that's why I beat games. On the other hand, I got people saying I never read their comments and therefore, you know, I'm not interactive enough. You see, you're always going to have that. You're going to have the element where people just are never satisfied. I'm still, to this day, trying to strive to strike a balance and find the right balance of interactive streaming. But what you guys got to understand, there's no more blind playthroughs. Like, yes, I'll play a game for the first time ever, but there's going to be people telling me about the game. There's going to be interactivity. It has to happen. I'm an interactive live streamer. Things changed 3 years ago. I didn't want to change. I wanted to stay the old style of content creation on YouTube. But when I was doing that, people said, you're outdated. You're a dinosaur. This is how you don't play, has overtaken you. And people making edited style content that's more professional has overtaken you. You can't do that anymore. I was literally told you can't do that anymore. So then I moved over here, started doing things differently. You're doing it wrong. It's like, well, no, you can't have it both ways. You can't. Sorry. I had to do what I had to do to adapt to survive. I openly admit now, I feel the interactive streams are way more fun than the stuff I used to do for YouTube. I've said this numerous times. I love now what I do for a living way more than when I used to do offline content for YouTube. Okay? So that goes hand in hand with the fact you're going to have more interactivity. You're going to have people talking more about the games and telling me more about the games, and you just have to live with that. If you don't like it, go find a very rare Let's Player who has absolutely no interaction with anyone. I'll be honest with you guys, all right? My wife and I have, in the past few months, watched a few people play some of the games that we like. Like, for example, we watched a few different YouTubers play Bloodborne and Dark Souls games. And, boy, everyone's style is completely different. Really. Like, you have some people, 100% of the time when they're actually playing the games, they're talking constantly to their viewers and getting information from them. And they're literally playing the game because their viewers are telling them exactly what to do. Then there's people who just do YouTube. They don't stream, but they read their YouTube comments and completely change what they're doing in the game based on the YouTube comments. So I was watching a playthrough of someone playing Bloodborne. And they were using a weapon they really liked, but because a commenter told them, oh, this weapon's much better, they basically started using the best weapon in the game, put every resource they had into the best weapon in the game, and coasted through the game. And I thought that playthrough sucked, because they were handheld and told, this is exactly what you need to do to coast through this game. And there are bosses in Bloodborne that are incredibly difficult, and because they had this one weapon and build, whoop, just zooped right by it. I was like, this guy literally didn't get the experience of Bloodborne because he's coasted through his playthrough being told exactly what to do. Okay? And I agree with you that if you're someone who's looking for, I wanted to see someone get challenged, and that's really what I was looking. I want to see how this person tackled this boss compared to how I did it when I played it. And you just see someone get told immediately, this is how you do it, and they coast through the whole game. That's a waste. I agree with you. Like, that's kind of silly. At the same time, when you're watching someone on a live stream, do you want to see someone bashing their head against the wall like this for 4 hours because they can't figure something out? You see what I mean? So I think it's different. Okay? Now, what's hilarious is that idiots say stuff like, well, that's what happened with me. When? I'll admit, the first 2 times I played Dark Souls 1, I didn't play them legit. The first time, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing and I quit. The second time, I literally did not play it legit at all. People handheld me through the whole game, with summons and help and the like. The third playthrough, which was the redemption run of Dark Souls 1, was 100% legit. I got a rare drop with that Black Knight Halberd, and that was one of the best weapons in the game, and I coasted through the game, but that was luck. That wasn't because I had planned on getting that. I actually had no idea that weapon was good, and then when it dropped, I was like, whoa, the stats on this weapon look great. I started leveling it and realized it was insanely overpowered, and it just made that playthrough super easy for me, right? Now, when I did my Dark Souls Remastered run, I did not use the Black Knight Halberd. I went through and did a different build and did it completely differently. So, to me, it's like, people are just stupid and make shit up for the sake of, because we want to delegitimize everything Phil ever does, right? And that's stupid as shit. My first run through Dark Souls 2 was completely legit. I had no idea what I was doing, and I suffered. When I did my, what was it called? Scholar of the First Sin run, I did a dual-wielding build, and I was instructed by another Soulsborne player on Twitch on how to do this crazy build, and it was crazy fun and overpowered, but it was very different from my first playthrough. But I'd already done a legit playthrough of the game, so doing a second build with knowledge of how to do it, was nothing wrong with that. You see what I mean? In reality, I don't want anyone to ever 100% hold my hand, but I do feel that help is appreciated in either an overly difficult game or a game that has cryptic stuff that there's no way I would figure it out on my own. All right? As a streamer, I have to keep the stream moving. I have to constantly keep the stream moving. I can't have the stream stuck on one thing for hours on end. People get bored, get angry, and they want to move on. You'll lose the retention of your audience if you're not doing fun stuff and you're constantly frustrated, okay? So that's kind of the balance I'm trying to strike to find, and it's tough. It's very tough, especially now I've seen from an outsider's perspective how some streamers do it differently and some YouTubers do it, and how I can understand how people can get completely frustrated if 100% of a playthrough is kind of coasted through because of something that happened you were told how to do it. At the same time, I don't feel that happens with my playthroughs, or at least if it does, it's a rarity, and I try not to do that all the time. This is not Phil's guided by chat every day. This is Phil has fun with games, and every once in a while, chat helps him out to advance something so he's not stuck for hours on end, right? So, that being said, that's the deal. I don't think there's a definitive answer to this question of, there is no perfect balance because everyone's looking for something different. Some people who watch me on stream just want me to suffer all day. Some people who watch me on stream actually want me to see me have fun and advance. So it's really a subjective question. There's no objective answer on what's the perfect balance when you're a live streamer between getting help and not getting help. But no, I'm not going to institute a rule. How stupid would this be? Absolutely no one can ever give me any information on a game. It's a pure blind playthrough. I want no help and no rules and no hand-holding, nothing helping it ever. That's stupidity. That's utter stupidity. It is. That's not what a live streamer is supposed to be doing. If you're an interactive live streamer, you have to interact. You can't just fucking ignore what people are saying. And you know what I mean? How do you even enforce that? Oh my God, Phil died to a boss 10 times. Let me give him a little hint on what to do. Oh, now I'm banned permanently from his fucking streams. No, I'm not going to do that. That's stupidity. You know what I mean? So to me, I think the whole, oh, no spoilers, no help at all is just dumb shit. You know, at the same time, I can completely understand from watching a few other playthroughs how when someone gets told a game breaking thing that will make the game too easy, how that also can be an issue. So I see both sides, and I strive to get that perfect balance. I know for some people it's not perfect, and for some people they like what I do. You know, it is what it is. I'm always going to be improving, I feel. I feel there's always room for improvement, and even though I've been doing this for 3 years like this, I think I'm still learning, and I'm still adapting. You know what I mean? But there's no perfection to doing it, in my opinion. It's everyone's subjective choice. So, okay? There you go. All right. A lot of things came in here. Alex tipped me $10. So thank you for years of entertainment. Thank you, Alex. That is the biggest tip of the day so far. So let's get you up on the leaderboard there. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you for the contribution and the support. Third Eye the Third Cheer said, I love it when you put your controller down and you're basically screaming at the stream chat saying, I need help right now. I need someone to tell me what to do. Yeah, and the reasons that I would do that, quite frankly, is because I'm at a part of a game that's so cryptic, or in particular, a game that's so outdated, like Donkey Kong 64, where I don't even understand what the fuck's going on, and the game doesn't help you. Now I need help, or else I'm going to have to look something up, right? It's either you help me and tell me what to do in this case, or I got to look it up. Either way, there's no way I can advance without that, right? And that happens in some older games. Modern games, not so much. Most modern games, you're going to figure it out no matter what, as long as you keep trying, even if sometimes it's like slamming your head against the wall. You're going to figure stuff out because they have these elements in place to help you, because they don't want people to get stuck infinitely on a part of their games. They want people to enjoy them. But back in the day, games didn't have any kind of hand-holding. In fact, a lot of games purposely didn't have any hand-holding because they wanted you to go buy the strategy guide, which they got a cut of the profits on. So you see what I mean? Like, it was kind of different back then. So yeah, I agree with you, though. There's some times when that does happen. Okay? Almighty Turban resubscribed for 7 months and said, love you. Well, thank you, Turban, so much. Cody Carls at the 50-bit cheers says, didn't you do that with the Drake Sword and Dick Lightning in Dark Souls? With the Drake Sword, absolutely 100%. And I just said that second run that I did through Dark Souls was not legit at all. It was people just telling me what to do constantly. That's 100% was handheld, but that wasn't meant to be a legit playthrough. The game was so fucking hard. And remember, that was when I had first started live streaming. And the whole point of me replaying Dark Souls is because people had asked me to go back to it over the years. I said, well, if I'm going to do it, you guys are going to have to tell me what the fuck to do, because I couldn't figure it out on my first try. And that's why that playthrough was like that. But then I subsequently went back 2 more times to play the game to play it legitimately. Okay? Dick Lightning, no. Dick Lightning was me. I figured that shit out. No one spoiled Dick Lightning. I just started doing a magic build and realized how fucking insanely powerful the Dick Lightning was. And I said, I'm just going to keep powering up the Faith build, and it became overpowered by the end of the game. That no one spoiled that for me. I 100% figured that shit out on my own. Keep in mind, later on, they nerfed it anyway. But that was just luck. That was dumb luck. And what it is people lie. They don't want to believe that I can figure something out. They want to believe that I'm like this dunderheaded dunce who drools at the mouth and can barely get out of bed and stumbles about and falls in the toilet. You know, like an uncoordinated oaf. That how could I possibly play a game and figure out a build that's good on my own? So, oh, the Dick Lightning wasn't legit. Oh, the Black Knight Halberd that's like an insanely low drop rate, but somehow I lucked out. Oh, that he was told to do that. You see what I mean? It's bullshit. It's because people are assholes and they just want to be cynical, negative, toxic dicks, and they want to believe that I could never actually do anything good in a game by themselves, and they can go fuck themselves, because those things were always legit. Okay? Shout out to Silent Bob, who took me $37. Thank you very much, Silent Bob, for that very generous tip. Let me get you up there on the leaderboard. You're the top tipper of the day now. Good to see you. I haven't seen Silent Bob in a while. So thank you, Silent Bob, for that. So that gets us up to $63? No. $63. I was right. Yep. $63 in tips so far on the stream. Thank you guys very much for that. Okay, and Milky Moves resub for 4 months. So thanks for all the great content. All right, I think we got time for one more question, and then we're going to take a break here. Let's see if this question... Oh, okay. This one I could definitely answer within like 5-10 minutes, and then we'll take a break, okay? So Blue Eyes White Dragon asks the following. DSP, I'm a fan... Can't read. Let's try again. Hello, DSP. I am watching you play the weekly chill Street Fighter throwback old school stream right now. I was never into fighting games growing up, and I'm wondering if you could explain what the different titles mean for all these games. I know there's Street Fighter 2, but then there's Super Street Fighter 2, but then there's a Turbo, and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and then there's a Hyper Street Fighter 2, and Super Street Fighter 2 Ultra. Is it the same for Super Street Fighter 3? Is there Street Fighter 3 Third Strike? What's that one? What about Street Fighter EX series? Okay, I can explain this. Ready? If you want the full detailed explanation that's not abridged, go watch my History of Street Fighter series on YouTube. It's live right now on DSP Gaming. When that Street Fighter Anniversary Collection came out about 2 years ago, I covered all the titles in it, explaining every game and the changes between them. But I'll give this to you in a nutshell. All right? Street Fighter was the original fighting game in the late 80s, early 90s. It was very primitive. It really didn't have any of the mechanics of modern Street Fighters, including actual functioning footsies. The jumps were incredibly floaty and weird. It was very hard to even consistently get special moves out. And you could only play as Ryu or Ken, who were identical. They were actually the same exact character. They only had 3 special moves: the Hadouken Fireball, the Hurricane Kick, and the Shoryuken Uppercut. And you couldn't even consistently get them to come out. You would try doing the move, and half the time the moves wouldn't come out. It was nothing like Street Fighter 2, but it was the premise of what laid out the series. When Street Fighter 2 came out in 1991, it changed everything. It was the first game with head-to-head action, actual, like, functional controls that when you did a move, it came out every time consistently if you did it with the right timing and the right motion. A 6-button actual layout, so you have 6 different attack strengths, and each position you were in, whether you're in the air, on the ground, neutral, standing, would do different moves for each button, and some moves even would be different depending on how close to the enemy you were. The first game that implemented a throw structure. Basically, Street Fighter 2 broke the mold and completely created a competitive fighting game genre that never existed before. You had 5 versions of Street Fighter 2. Regular Street Fighter 2, then there was Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. This game implemented that you could play the 4 previously unplayable bosses as characters, and it added in a few other elements like a few extra combos and things. Then there was a game that has 2 names. It was either called Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting or Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't know why the hell they were called different things, but those are the 2 names, same game. What this game did, it made the game significantly faster because people kind of complained that the gameplay of Street Fighter 2 and Champion Edition was kind of slow-paced, and they wanted to see something a little bit more action-packed and maybe required a little bit better hand-eye coordination. So Hyper Fighting or Street Fighter 2 Turbo ran at a significantly faster pace than the previous games. In addition, many characters in the game got new special moves that made them different. So, for example, Blanca not only had a ball that would go straight across the screen, but he had one that would go straight up. Zangief had 2 different variations of his spinning clothesline. Everyone basically got different move variations and stuff. And also, combo ability got hugely improved in this game, where you could do bigger combos than ever before, okay? In Super Street Fighter 2, the game speed slowed down again, but the game added 4 new characters and added in new stages and music. This was the first game to run on a better sound engine, so the game actually sounded quite good with the background music. And added in, I think this was the one that added in slightly altered versions of characters. Don't quote me on that because I can't 100% remember when they did that. But basically the game, better graphics, better music, new characters, and it ran slightly slower because some people did actually complain that Street Fighter 2 Turbo ran too quickly. The final version of Street Fighter 2 was called Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. This was the best of all worlds. Faster paced gameplay, high combo ability, multiple versions of every character where you could play as their current version or an older school version that kind of played like a version of the character from the previous Street Fighter games. Super moves. For the very first time, you could charge up a super meter, which would then allow you to throw out a super powered special move. This became implemented in every fighting game, like moving forward, seriously. Like almost every franchise had super moves for moving forward as a base of this in Street Fighter. But it was the first real game to implement super moves in a competitive way. So Super Turbo is like the implementation of all those fighting game mechanics, the best that you could possibly get. Okay? Now, there were other franchises that came out in the Street Fighter series. There's a Street Fighter Alpha series. This was supposed to be a series that took place previous to the events of Street Fighter 2. So it has some of the characters from Street Fighter 2, like Ken, Ryu, and Chun-Li, but then it has other characters that are like variations, like Guile's friend Charlie, who kind of plays like Guile, is in it. So Street Fighter Alpha had 3 versions, Alpha 1, 2, and 3. There were some spin-offs, like for example, there was versions at the home version that had extra characters that the arcade version didn't have. Then there was a Street Fighter 3 series, which had 3 iterations. It was Street Fighter 3, Fight for the Future, Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, which added in new characters and new gameplay mechanics, and then Street Fighter 3 Third Strike that added even more new characters, and this time completely rebalanced the game to be a different kind of game that was actually very highly competitive. The previous 2 games had been considered very unbalanced and not very great, while the final version of Street Fighter 3 was actually considered the best competitive version. Now, that's just in a nutshell. There's tons of variations of things that I could mention in there. If you want the full explanation, head over and watch that History of Street Fighter series on DSP Gaming. You'll get in-depth explanations on every game in the series as I play them through their arcade modes. Okay? Alright, guys. So, the last thing in the Street Fighter series, before we take a break here, there were some spin-offs. Like he mentions, the EX series. That was actually a series not made by Capcom, the makers of Street Fighter. Capcom licensed their fighters to be used in other games, and this was one of the ones made by a company named Eureka. It was the first Street Fighter game to have 3D sprites, because Street Fighter always wanted to stick to 2D, but then other franchises were moving into 3D, so to move into 3D, they licensed it out to this other company who made a game. It still had some of the mechanics of Street Fighter, but it had some different things like super cancels and stuff that weren't very prominent in Street Fighter. It was kind of wonky. It wasn't exactly 100% balanced. A lot of people really liked the series, but it never caught on like competitive Street Fighter did. Regular competitive Street Fighter. So, and by the way, that had many versions. I think it was like EX 1, 2, 3, and then there was like a special version later on. So, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for part 1 of Ask the King. When we come back, I'm going to continue on with the forum questions. We may even only have a part 2 this time because, being honest, I only have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forum questions and like 4 Twitter questions left, and then we can basically just go to stream questions. So if you're watching this live on Twitch, I'm going to take a break to go rest my voice for like 10-15 minutes, and then we're going to come back. If you're watching this on YouTube, this part's going to end. You can just come back for part 2. All right, guys? Thanks very much so far for a great Ask the King. I hope you're enjoying the show. When we come back, we'll answer a lot more of your questions, all right? See you in a bit. Thanks. Peace out.